Okay, Electronics 101. This one's about inductors. The simplest inductor is just a long coil of wire in the circuit so that current can flow through it. Relatively higher resistance because it's basically just a lot more wire than the rest of the traces in that circuit. This one would be an iron core inductor because it's got an iron nail in there. That one's an air core. The difference is when there's iron in the middle, that ferrite will increase the magnetic field that's induced when you run current through this. So we'll put the power source on here. And then hit the button. And that, although you can't see anything right now, is running current, electricity through these wires, but it's also inducing electromagnetism. So if we bring the compass around the iron here, you'll see that it wants to stay very close to that. Now, another thing about these is that it doesn't like that any kind of change in the amount of current that's flowing through. So right now, while it's going steady rate, it's perfectly happy. But if you let that go, you see that flashed because the current that was still in here didn't want to slow down and ended up spilling out and went through this diode. When you have a diode across the contacts of a motor to get rid of that backflow like that, it's called a flyback diode, and that's used to protect other parts of your circuit so that that current doesn't try to go backwards and fry anything else that's attached to it. So you can create a magnetic field with electricity, but you can also create electricity with a magnetic field. In this example, this flashlight is got a magnet in the middle of the coil. The coil goes all the way around the magnet. It's hollow, so the magnet can slide back and forth when you shake it, and that induces electricity in there. And it's going to store it in not a battery, but a little capacitor. And then once you hit that momentary button switch, it'll light up. This one I don't use often because it works, but you have to shake it a lot to get even a little bit of shine out of that one. Anywho, other inductors besides the basic coil are the coils that are in motors, different sizes of motors here. They also have the permanent magnets inside of them. Analog meters have coils inside of them. Relays have coils inside of them, and so do transformers. This one actually has two coils. The primary has less turns than the secondary, and that's going to induce more voltage. So if you have an alternating current, you know, positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, switching back and forth, it'll generate that field that's building, collapsing, and that'll induce electricity on this side of the circuit, which I'll show later. Other examples are just used for antennas, like on this AM radio here. There's also coils in speakers with their permanent magnets as well. I believe that covers all of the examples I have here. So, take the battery off of that. And we're not going to need it for this one because this is actually to show that while you can use the power source to run the motors, you can also use the motors as a power source. So I'm going to keep an eye on this meter. You spin this one as fast as you can. Try the other direction, because that one's trying to go negative. There we go. So that one's generating about half an amp, and it looks like about 3 volts. Now, if we swap it out with this more efficient one, which I've attached a propeller to for wind power, we use air to spin it, blow from the top. Yeah, see that? That one created a lot. So we use air resistance for wind turbines, or you could use water for hydro turbines. Okay, then we have this circuit, which is has included the relay with the coil, inductor coil, the transformer with 2 inductor coils. Then we're going to put our power source on there, please. That buzzing is the sound it makes. Okay, lift that up for a minute. Is the sound it makes because as it's charging this coil, that magnetic field is pulling that top switch closed. So it's a magnetic switch basically, which then allows the rest of the circuit that's attached here to complete and then flow. And the reason it's buzzing is because it's opening and closing on and off so fast that you can't actually see it unless you're, I don't know, got really good eyes, but you can definitely hear it. And the higher the frequency, the more power you put through this thing, it's going to get very annoying very quickly. The alternating current, by the way, the battery is a direct current source, and this converts it to alternating current because as this switch closes, it then pops it in reverse basically, so that the contacts will flow through the coil in the other direction. And again, that creates voltage on this side, which isn't actually connected at all. It's just the magnetism. So that's also called an isolator. Isolating transformers are used a lot when you want to try and keep safe from like the 240 volt, 120 volt coming out of your wall to something like a 5 volt handheld device that you've got plugged in and or charging. Now, for the inductors and the coils, in the radio, we have, let's put the power over there to show that this actually works. You can hear it. Going to change the variable capacitor to change the station. Yeah. And that's made possible because of this inductor, which is used as the antenna. And of course, the magnet interacting with the signal going through the coil, which either attracts it or repels it, pushing the diaphragm, which then makes noise that we hear. Right? So that's inductors.